to the LC Global Change Talks and our very interesting topic today, unique change. Now, unique change is the name of a wonderful project that I would like to talk about today with my conversation partner, Mr. Kunal Mahajan, a vice president at the Leveraged Finance Group with Sumitomo Mitsui Banking Corporation here in New York. The Unique Change Initiative is an initiative that Kunal champions, and it seeks to integrate and cater to the needs of people with disabilities. Mr. Kunal Mahajan, welcome to the LC Global Change Talks. I'm so happy to have you.
Thank you for having me here. I'm really excited to talk to you today about the unique initiative I launched at SMBC, and just to really educate you about how much this initiative has been growing at the firm.
Wonderful. That's exactly what we want. We want to be educated. We want to learn from you what exactly you did. Number one, what the initiative is, what you did, and what our followers, what our audience can learn for their change initiatives. And you set such a beautiful example. Now, could we get started by your maybe describing the project? And I would also really like to know what drew you to this project. Why did you want to start the initiative Unique Change?
Yeah, sure. So Unique is about it is a employee resource group that I launched at SMBC with our main mission to develop a more emotionally intelligent culture at the firm to better integrate the disabilities population at the firm. And we are doing this by creating education about different kinds of disabilities out there, to providing support services for people with disabilities, and finally really advocating for the disabilities population both at the firm and in the community. This was very close to home to me because I've had a lifelong stuttering disability myself, and I've worked in leveraged finance for 11 years, and I had spent my whole career feeling very insecure about my stutter. I've never talked to anyone about it, and I've just spent my whole career trying to hide it because I felt that there's so much shame about it, and I was worried about the stigmas and the stereotypes in the corporate world if people did find out about it. And so I think through my own challenges, that is what really drove me to want to launch this initiative here at the firm.
That's wonderful. Thanks so much for sharing this with us. And I hear so many wonderful words that you mentioned that I think are going to be very, very relevant to our audience. First, I think you mentioned your own challenges as someone who stutters, and then something that almost breaks my heart, that you wanted to hide it in corporate America, in the corporate world, and at one point felt like you really didn't want to do this any longer, right? And then you started this initiative that has this higher goal, namely to drive a culture that is more inclusive, and even more so, that increases the emotional intelligence of the people in your organization. Now, how great is that? But I'd like us to go back to the beginnings. Could you share with us again, at the beginning of this change initiative, what exactly was going through your mind? Where did you get started? And then I suppose at one point it really bore fruit and it took off. But right at the beginning, what did you actually do? And just take us through the steps maybe a little bit more.
Sure, yeah. So once I had gone through a lot of mental health therapy myself, into some inpatient intensive stuttering clinics, and after I went to those, I was able to get some form of acceptance of my stutter. And after I joined SMBC for about 6 months, I was still going through trying to hide it. And I realized, though, that I needed to do something to give back to the stuttering community in terms of to be able to show them that that corporate America will be accepting to their stutter. But I also realized, too, I needed to start to educate our employees about disabilities as well. So what I decided to do was hold a mock interview event for the stuttering community at my firm, where I educated 30 members of senior management all about stuttering and the challenges stutters face, including my own personal journey. And then we brought in 30 people who stutter from across the country to give them mock interviews. And this was an incredibly incredibly powerful experience, because for the first time I saw these people who stutter really get that great feeling of acceptance from corporate America. All of these interviewers, they had thought that would never be understanding about their stutter. For many stutters, the interview is their worst fear, because they're so afraid that that interviewer is only hearing their stutter. And so for the stutters to kind of get this experience of having a corporate company and their employees really understand stuttering and really see through it and accept them for it, but then also to see our employees really have a really meaningful experience for themselves, because a lot of them have never really spent time with someone with the disabilities or really understood one or been in a position to have an impact on them. And so I think after I saw how much benefits both parties got, I realized I needed to do this on a bigger scale for all of the other disabilities out there, because I realized that it's not just the stuttering community who's struggling; that it's all of the disabilities out there that are feeling the same way, that their employees don't understand their disabilities, so they have to try to hide it. And the second reason why I did it was I knew I needed to do this for all of our employees out there. The employees needed a chance to have a forum where they could come and understand these different kinds of disabilities here, and really start to learn about it here. And so it was really those two things that really drove me to create this initiative here. And I was able to roll this initiative out with the help of 9 of those volunteers from that mock interview event who are senior leaders at the firm, and one of them and all 9 of them are allies, and one of them serves as my co-head, so we could send the message to the firm that this is something that both the people with disabilities believe in, and also the allies as well.
Wow, that is so impressive, I have to say, as someone who works in organizational change day in and day out. I'm just stunned and impressed. Kudos, really wonderful work, and it's a wonderful and very successful corporate change initiative. I heard the word allies, and you mentioned senior management, and I take it that not all of senior management allies stutter themselves or have other disabilities. So I do believe you managed to convince people in the senior management to really to co-initiate this on a larger level with you, and also to carry the flame on, so that the initiative would really grow, right? Am I right with assuming this?
Absolutely. I think I was really able to help the senior management understand just, number one, this is good for business. You look at the top 45 organizations in the who scored 100% in the Disabilities Equality Index, and they have been shown to have twice the net income, 30% higher economic profit margins as well. And so I think everyone was able to understand that this community is good for business, but also in terms of what the disabilities community brings to your corporate culture is they really bring a unique perspective to the team. I mean, this is why the name I chose for this was unique, because people with disabilities, they tend to have a lot of perseverance, very grateful. They are very empathetic people as well. These are all things that we want in our teams here for all of our teams here. Also, people with disabilities have been shown to have higher loyalty and higher job retention rates. If you think about what it feels like to really accept someone with their disability, that person will be very loyal to the organization. And the final thing is, people with disabilities are just as able as everyone else. If you look at what the core aspects of the job are, you really start to understand, like, yeah, wow, like these people can do this job here, and they really are just as able as everyone else, whether they have a disability or not. So I think all of the allies were able to understand both the business side and what it does for the culture, and I think people can start to see, like, we are really changing people's lives here, and just making the institution a better place to work. And so I think that is something that's very empowering to people, whether you have a disability or not, of a initiative that you want to be a part of.
Absolutely. And also, I hear you say that, you wanted a culture that is more emotionally intelligent. And of course, we have gazillion of programs, learning and development programs that cater to that, and they're all good, don't get me wrong. But I think what you started in your company is almost like living or practicing by doing. So at the beginning, you described that people with disabilities, and also in particular people that stutter, try to hide their impediment. And I was just thinking, how difficult must that be to hide a speech impediment? Because we all know in the business world it's very, very important that you learn how to speak, that you learn how to speak fast, that you learn how to present, and all these things, right? So it's particularly important and particularly difficult to hide. And the other thing that you mentioned was that people, or it started with your own acceptance in the therapy that you had. It started with that you accepted, yes, I have a stutter, but at the end of the day, you didn't want to be defined by that stutter, and that's when you became active. And I do believe if you manage to make the entire community that works at your bank see that, then I think you manage to put people in other people's shoes. And that, by definition, is emotional intelligence. So for me, this is better, no offense to the wonderful programs that we have out there, but for me, something like this is better and more practical than a program, a development program, right? So this is living it day in, day out, and I think that creates such a community where everybody understands we can bring our identity to the table at this bank. And I also think you mentioned the business side, and of course that also reflects your clients, because not everybody who is a client of yours is naturally someone like the people in top management, right? So I think it brings a beautiful diversity to the table and lives it. It's not only talking the talk, it's also walking the walk, and day in, day out, and that's what makes it so effective. So that was practically the beginning, and you also mentioned some hardcore facts, which I didn't know, admittedly. In our pre-conversations, you also mentioned some facts about life in America as someone with a disability. Could you mention the stats that you mentioned to me in our pre-conversation so that we understand the reality of someone that is, for example, trying to look for a job but might have a disability?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so I think one thing that a lot of people don't realize is that the disabilities population is a huge space here in America. 19% of the US population has a disability. 55% of people have someone with a disability in their family. And the reason why no one really knows about all of this is because 70% of the disabilities are invisible, things that the human eye can't see. So things such as bipolar, neurological disorders, autism, stutters, cancer, and so you have this huge population out there. And what is very sad, though, is that if you look at people with disabilities, if you look at the population from 16 to 65, the disabilities population has 67% unemployment in corporate America. And really, the biggest challenge that this population faces in the workforce is due to inaccurate stereotypes and negative bias as well. So I think really understanding that whole universe there, the opportunities of us to be able to get great qualified talent out there, and some of the injustice that the community has faced from really a lifetime of being discriminated against and stereotypes. I really saw that this was a great opportunity for us to really, just by creating education and awareness and starting to create this culture that would be more emotionally intelligent, that would give these people an opportunity to reach their full potential. I saw just how much we can really transform this whole organization here. And to be frank with you, I myself have transformed myself because of my acceptance and because of Unique here. And the organization has changed my life, and I am operating at a much different level now versus than I ever was before. And that, again, was really driven because I knew that the organization, from the head of HR to the CEO to my managers to people on the ground level, they understood stuttering and they were accepting of it, and I realized that the culture was becoming emotionally intelligent here. And so a lot of what we've done with Unique is continue to drive that agenda forward here for the firm.
Wonderful.